Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
That didn't seem commensurate with this awesome celebratory event. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, much better. I'm David Cash. I'm the regional administrator for EPA New England, which are the 6 New England states and the 10 federally recognized tribes, and it is such a pleasure to be here today. And let me just start. There's so many gratitudes, and one in particular is so many community members and neighbors have been an important part of the cleanup. One in particular who is not here is Robert Burke, who allowed EPA to bring equipment and everything onto his property to help with the cleanup, and thank you for that. And of course you will hear later from Vivian Morris from the Hyde Park, one of the Hyde Park community members who's been so instrumental. As I said earlier to the members of the advisory group, thank you, and thank you to all the partners here. Just fantastic. I am so happy to be here because 2.5+ years ago, one of my first events was the announcement that this whole stretch of the river was going to be a Superfund site, which in the old days, I think many communities were like, oh no, this is horrible. This is like a blight on our community. But I think there was a lot of wisdom here in this community, wisdom in the city, wisdom in the state, to say now we're going to get some federal funding and partnership that can unlock EPA's power, the state's power, the city's power, and of course the community's power to make progress here. And that's what this is all about today, progress. I think you know the goal of EPA's cleanup program is to protect human health and the environment, cleaning up contaminated sites, giving them back to communities. And when we begin work at a Superfund site, we begin with the most important thing to build. It's not structures, but trust and relationships with the communities impacted by our work. We seek to connect with residents and listen to their concerns and their ideas and their hopes and their dreams. And we've heard from the community how important this natural resource is to their lives and how important it is to be at the table to discuss that. I was reminded of this event 2.5 years ago and a phenomenal film that a student at BU produced about this. It's about a 10-minute film. It's great. And Marilyn Corcu, who's here, was on there. And at the end of the film, she says, I hope my grandkid can go canoeing here before I die. And Marilyn told me this morning that, in fact, he has already. And here you are. So how wonderful. We know the Neponset River was the center of industrial activity that acted as an economic engine here in the Boston area. And we know that there's been a legacy from those activities. State Representative Consalvo is here. Thank you so much for joining. He was just telling us how he used to walk across this bridge and smell the activities here. What I want everybody to do right now is just take a deep breath. I don't smell any paint or fumes.
Nature.
We smell nature. Exactly. And a bustling economy. If we wait long enough, we'll hear the train go by, bringing people to and from important things in their lives. We see the economic activity here, and again, we're here to help bring the hopes and dreams of the communities to fruition. Lewis Chemical, which operated from the 60s through the 80s, collected and stored and processed all kinds of hazardous waste, and in 2023, EPA excavated and shipped over 5,000 tons of contaminated soil from this site to an EPA-approved disposal facilities. And we're working on many other properties in the area. I gotta say, I just love that we're here at this site. We're talking about canoeing and kayaking, barbecuing over here, and again, people commuting to and from work. It's just fantastic, all the activity that's going on here. Of course, we're moving down the river after this site to clean up at Riverside Square, a residential area that was impacted by materials from the river. Yes, awesome. And we'll begin to remove contaminated soil this month. And while this work takes place, we're continuing to make progress on our long-term cleanup of the lower Neponset River Superfund site. Lots and lots of progress. We've completed the evaluation of the first mile upstream of the T&H Dam, and will soon be making a decision on the removal of the dam and contaminated river sediments. Yay, Yay is right. We're continuing to collect evidence from mussels and fish and sediments to figure out how we can most safely clean up the sediments behind the dam. And then that information will further inform all of the decisions that we're making for the final 2.7 miles river leading to the Walter Baker Chocolate Dam. I love that name. It's as if the dam is made out of chocolate, but we know that it's not. This work is not possible without the input and partnership from individuals and organizations who tirelessly advocate for the needs of their community. Cleaning up contaminated sites and advancing environmental justice ensures that everyone, regardless of zip code or socioeconomic status, can thrive in clean and safe communities, and that's all about the Investing in America agenda from the Biden-Harris administration, and that's what we're seeing evidence of here today. So thank you very much, and I'd love to call up the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs Undersecretary Stephanie Cooper.
Thank you. Got to switch my eyewear here. Well, thank you and good morning. I am thrilled to be here. Administrator Cash is always a tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best. I want to thank and recognize everybody here. Everybody here has had a role in this progress and bringing us to this point. So all of the leaders who are standing behind me, from whom you will hear, but also everybody here in the community, whether you are part of a neighborhood group, or whether you have just lived here and had your own aspirations of what you wanted to see that you're beginning to see come to life. I also really want to thank Administrator Cash and the team at EPA for their leadership for getting this done. Right, it's been incredible progress so far that I feel like is exciting to celebrate something tangible and real, and it just makes you want more. Right, and that's what's happening next. So you're going to hear from my colleagues, DEP Commissioner Heipel and Mass DEP's Deputy Chief Engineer Rob Lowell. DCR's Deputy Chief Engineer Rob Lowell next, and they're going to talk about the important roles that their agencies have played. But I'm going to speak a little bit from my personal experience. So more than 15 years ago, I had the privilege of attending meetings of what was at the time a Neponset Citizens Advisory Committee. It was held downriver from here in Lower Mills. And Ian Cook, who's directly in my sight, I think this is when I first encountered him. And it made a deep impression on me at the beginning of my career in Massachusetts state government. And I saw and heard and just absorbed the passion of people in the community who were dedicated to restoring the river's health, their commitment to improving fish habitats and passage, enhancing recreational access, and making it clean made a real impression on me. And at the time, the vision that these residents came together and put forward for a cleaner Neponset, for connections to the river that would benefit not just the environment but the neighborhoods that had borne the brunt of this legacy pollution, that vision was blocked by the pollution in the river. And now we're beginning to turn that around, and it is exciting to think about bringing that full vision to life. And just standing here for a few minutes, I heard people talk about what they want to see here. And that's the next phase, right, of painting this beautiful clean canvas with what people want to do, see, and experience here. So it's a real pleasure to celebrate this milestone and to sort of get more energy and inspiration for the work that's to come. And I think also it should not be under-celebrated the way that the city, state, and federal agencies have come together, supported by and on the backs of the advocacy from the community, but to say, let's roll up our sleeves. How do we make everything work together? How do we maximize the funding that we have? Everybody come together and put something in the proverbial hat, if you will, to get this project done. So we're making strides toward the goal of full river restoration and healing and connecting these neighborhoods. And this really embodies a commitment to environmental justice that I know we all share and is a top priority of the Healy Driscoll administration. So we're celebrating and we're recommitting to the work ahead. And we know that the completion of this cleanup, and David used the word unlock, will unlock the full potential of the river and the full potential for people to enjoy it and experience nature close to home, which is so important for all of us, for our well-being as well as the well-being of the environment. So we're committed to supporting and being part of the next phase of this cleanup. Excited to come back here and see how the place comes to life. And with that, I'm going to wrap up and say thank you all for being part of this vital work. Let's keep the momentum going. Thank you. All right, so I will now turn it over to Commissioner. I'm now going to call up DEP Commissioner Bonnie Heupel.
Want to mess with this too much. This is good. We'll just have the trains segue from speaker to speaker. It's like clockwork here. Delighted to be here, first and foremost, to celebrate all of the progress on cleaning up the Lewis Chemical site right here in Hyde Park. I'd also like to recognize the work that's beginning downriver at the Riverside Square site. Overall, the Neponset River site cleanup has terrific momentum, and that is thanks to so many of you. Our team from Mass DEP, particularly our Northeast Regional team, has been involved in this for decades, overseeing large removal actions in Mother Brook in the early 2000s, conducting sampling to determine how far PCB and other contamination had traveled. We saw the widespread effects of the many historical and industrial uses and incidents that occurred along the river over time. We knew something had to be done to address these effects and clean up these areas for the benefit of neighboring communities. But we also knew how complex and how expensive that would be. Enter EPA. Truly tremendous gratitude to our colleagues in the federal government who answered our call and the call of so many here. EPA has brought to bear tremendous, deep expertise and the resources of the Superfund program to meet these challenges. Right here in Hyde Park, right next to us, thousands of tons of contaminated soil have been removed. New soils have been brought in to restore the site. So many of us are sitting here looking at the beautiful green grass. This was not something that any of us could have envisioned. Maybe some of you could have envisioned, but seeing it live here brought to reality is really impactful. We're so thankful too that EPA remains committed to addressing the whole of the problem. We look forward to working alongside you and so many others here as we dive into the next major phase of the cleanup in Riverside Square. It would really be hard to overstate the complexities of this effort. We're undoing centuries of contamination from a variety of sources. We're doing it next to so many people, right? But the fact that this impacts so many people is a huge part of why these efforts are so important. So while it doesn't happen overnight to undo centuries of contamination, we've made really significant progress in only a fraction of that time. It's taken so much hard work, advocacy, collaboration, and dedication to get us to this point. So truly thank you to all of you who have exhibited that for so many years, and cheers to the progress that's been made and is to come. Thank you. I would like to introduce our partners in state government, the Department of Conservation and Recreation Deputy Chief Engineer Robert Lowell.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, EPA, for inviting us and for your work and partnership in cleaning up the Neponset River. DCR is committed to working with our partners to ensure that residents have safe, clean, healthy water for outdoor recreation, which we know is so important for our overall well-being. DCR has been engaged with the Neponset River cleanup since the 1990s with remediation of Indian Line Farm in Canton, Canton Airport, and other Neponset River locations, including here at Lewis Chemical, where the DCR, or the former MDC, purchased the reservation property in 1894, speculating that we would have this green space into the future. Maintaining our rivers is absolutely critical to meeting our climate goals in Massachusetts, and as we continue to see more and more extreme heat like we had this summer, it's critical we ensure that all our residents have access to clean water for recreation, especially those in our urban areas that feel the effects of climate change and heat most acutely. Improving the water quality of our rivers is also vital to ensuring the survival of the Commonwealth's flora, fauna, fish, and the health of our river ecosystem. So thank you to EPA for its efforts to clean up the Neponset River, its coordination with DCR, and together looking ahead to improve the recreational opportunities in the river and all along the Neponset Reservation. Thank you.
Now, if I can call up a phenomenal champion for the kind of work that we're doing here and all over the city is our mayor, Michelle Wu.
Good morning, everyone. What an honor to be here with you all for this momentous day. I am reminded now that one of the first things we will do next is make sure there's seating for people to enjoy too. So, doctor yesterday told me I need to get compression socks and sit down more, so thank you. This is an incredible example of what's possible when we finally get all of the momentum together because there's alignment across city, state, federal government, and most importantly, listening to the community. This has been decades in the making, and I got a sense of how exciting and significant this is when you might have seen the huddle before the remarks started, and we're already off planning for the next couple phases of what's going to come next, because this is a community who has waited long enough and has ideas about not just how to reach a baseline of health and safety and cleanliness, but to reach that ultimate vision of everybody in our community coming together, enjoying the fullness of the resources that we are blessed to have in nature and with each other. So thank you to all the speakers who have spoken already. I want to give a special acknowledgement to Administrator Cash. I remember being at that event at the Lower Neponset River Superfund announcement, and you had been there, you had been in your role for just a couple weeks at that point. And so when I got the call that we were ready to declare that something was completed coming out of that effort, I was shocked and excited, and that we're back here so fast, just a few years later, celebrating the completed cleanup of this Lewis chemical site and on to measuring the progress of all the ones to come next. I want to thank our colleagues at the state level, Undersecretary Cooper, Commissioner Heipel, Chief Engineer Lowell, and also our colleagues in elected office. State Representative Rob Consalvo has served in many hats advocating for this very moment and even more. And of course, our community members. We'll hear from the incredible Miss Vivian Morris in a little bit as well. And I also want to shout out the members of our team at the City of Boston. Raise your hand if you're with the city. We have an incredible collaborative effort across many different departments on anything that we do, but hats off to the teams represented here by our Chief of Housing, Sheila Dillon, our Chief Climate Officer, Brian Sweat, Environment Commissioner, Oliver Selledge Garcia, and special thank you to Jamie Smith from the Office of Housing, who has been working on this for a decade, and again already was given notes on what the next steps to follow. So thank you, Jamie, for all you've done to directly shepherd this. We, the city, have one goal: to make Boston a home for everyone. And that means lots of different things. It's, of course, housing, jobs, schools, but it's also that every one of our public spaces feels like home and is a welcoming and beautiful site to bring community together. The EPA has helped prioritize the cleanup of this space, and it was this funding from the Biden-Harris administration and the bipartisan infrastructure law that really capped off so much of the work that had been happening, but was just this close to the finish line. And so thank you for this work across every level of government to clear more than 5,700 tons of contaminated soil on this site, making it clean, safe, and beautiful for the more than 20,000 residents who live within a mile of here. Boston's families deserve clean water, clean air, clean soil, electrified trains, which will be coming in a number of years. And now we'll move on to the Riverside Square site as well. So we'll be back here in just a couple months, I'm sure, to celebrate that completion in addition. So the reality is that while the land here has been cleared of contaminants and the Riverside Square site will be cleared in the years ahead, the Lower Neponset River as a whole still needs a lot of work to become the beautiful treasure it once was, and that we know it once more can be for all of our community members. For too long, our residents have lived with the consequences of actions that they had nothing to do with around industrial dumping that impacted health and safety and well-being. So at the city, we're ready to roll up our sleeves and partner on all the steps ahead. There is MOA, Office of Housing Land, city land, that has been part of this, and that's why Chief Dillon and Jamie have been such an important and critical partner in making this happen. Continue to play a part moving to the next phase and the next steps for this site to be at its fullest potential as well. So I know Chief Dillon and Jamie will be working closely with DCR and Rep. Consalvo and all of our partners here in the community process about what comes next and how we make sure that we are continuing to improve on the baseline that's been established here today. So thank you to everyone at the EPA, at the state, at the city, the countless community advocates who refuse to stand by and watch a natural treasure be squandered. We are so grateful for your work, for the legacy that you've created, and we are going to be on to the next phase of the cleanup with all of you. So now it is my honor to pass it over to someone who wears so many different hats: Mattapan Food and Fitness, public health advocate, neighborhood leader, and today also a member of the Community Advisory Group, Ms. Vivian Morris.
Hello, everyone. So given where things are today, locally, nationally, internationally, it is so wonderful to have something to feel good about. Our environment is so important for our health and well-being. And here we are in this lovely space and know that we can safely breathe deeply while we look at the beautiful Neponset River. But today is also a day for us to learn more about our community and the road we've been on and continue to travel on to create the safe environment that we all deserve. There we go. So, I'm Vivian Morris, a longtime resident of a neighborhood abutting the Neponset River. We've been in our home for over 35 years and in an area that was considered Mattapan and then was converted to be considered Hyde Park. We call our neighborhood Edgewater because it's along Edgewater Drive and it's on the very edge of the Neponset River. In 2016, we created a neighborhood association in order to build closer ties among neighbors and to use our collective voice to make improvements in our community. With that voice, we have pushed for addressing the many years of inequity in the use of local and national resources to improve the quality of life in our community. The Edgewater neighborhood is culturally diverse, with families with origins in the southern United States, like mine, families from Haiti, Trinidad, Barbados, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and many other Caribbean nations. The Edgewater neighbors quickly identified block captains for each street and began monthly meetings to strengthen connections among neighbors and encourage greater utilization of community resources. The organization also addresses concerns like increasing safety and cleanliness of the riverbank, supporting local youth and elders, and much more through working with our many partners like the Neponset River Watershed Association, Mattapan Food and Fitness Coalition, of course, Trust for Public Land, Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council, and I also want to mention our strong support from the City of Boston, particularly under Mayor Wu. Another of our projects that we advocated for many years was to build a walking biking path along the Neponset River in our community. We wanted our local community to enjoy the benefits of both physically and emotionally of being able to enjoy moving along the river. We also wanted greater access to the actual river when it becomes safe and clean. The Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, as we call DCR, has kindly agreed to work with us on this project, and actual construction is scheduled to begin next spring. Woo! Yay! But another thing for us to feel good about is the positive progress in cleaning the Neponset River. After many years of advocating for the cleanup of the Neponset River, the federal government, via the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, in 2022 made the lower Neponset River a national priority for cleanup. This is a 3.7-mile stretch that abuts our neighborhoods in Hyde Park, Mattapan, Dorchester, and Milton. We always knew that the lower Neponset River needed cleanup, as it was historically connected to many mills and factories that contributed to the river contamination. We're still learning about the impact of this on our health and also on the well-being of local residents. And we want to make sure that others learn as well. The EPA has supported community participation through public meetings and the creation of our community advisory group. This community advisory group has broadened the connections among communities along the river, and we look forward to including even more abutting neighbors. We are so fortunate that the cleaning has begun. This lovely space that we are on was once the site of the Lewis Chemical Company, as we've talked about earlier, with decades of contaminated soil being here on the site. But thanks to the work through EPA, thousands of tons of soil have been removed and replaced with safe, healthy soil. This is an inspiration to us all about the continued cleanup of the Neponset River. We have so much to be thankful for. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And before we close, I know there's some members of the press who are here. Are there any questions? And then we're going to do a picture of all of us. Yes?
I just want to make a statement. I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that those of us in the Fairmount Hill Neighborhood Association have been waiting for this for almost 50 years. Under the leadership of Rita Walsh and Martha McDonough and Barbara Baxter, we spearheaded a group to deal with what was an atrocity here, and we've been working on it ever since. So we appreciate what's happened and where we are, but we don't want to wait another 50 years to see good things happening here. So thank you for the work that you have done, but also understand there's a large base of work that was done by local people in the 80s, late 70s and 80s. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your efforts and leadership and all of your neighbors and community groups who've worked on this. Thank you. All right. And I can commit that we are working really hard. You just heard from everybody here. You saw all the staff from the city of Boston. EPA staff, raise your hands as well. They look at the group here. The focus that they have to make the changes that you all have been waiting 50 years for. They're pushing forward as quickly as we all can. So thank you. All right, we ready for a picture up here? Joanne, are you? All right. Mayor, if you want to join us. Yeah, should we bring them all up now?
Yeah,
sure.
I know. You think?
Yeah, you grab them. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Great to meet you.
Mayor, why don't you come up here? Yeah. Yeah, let's get everybody. Let's be inclusive here. You're gonna have to step back.
Yeah, get out of the way. Come over here.
You gotta be in here.
I got a face for radio.
A long time ago when you were first running.
Okay.
Right. Joanne, are you taking the picture, or is Alex? Everybody. Everybody. Orchestrate, so we're paying attention.
All right.
Who are we looking at? Where are we looking first? Middle. Middle. Okay. Gentleman in blue.
Grab on, yeah. Before my camera, the most exciting picture that's ever been done.
Everybody ready? Right here for a second?
Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Are we all in? Yeah.
I love your whole
I got that. Anybody else here? This guy I'm thinking? Alex, you good? Good. All right. Good. Awesome. Good job. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.